is mule deer management guidelines. All right.
Disregard P24.
One of the dog have
Yeah, they don't need that.
All right. We're on Commissioner Policy 28. This is an action item.
24 back.
So this one without the group one,
Got
What I
that.
just gave you,
I've got that.
need to go back.
this is the one we don't need.
24.
You want this?
Got copies of that.
24 back?
Indian giver.
What,
Yeah.
is that number 67?
24.
Oh,
Keep 28 and 67.
Which 28? The one with the green and the red, or the
Yeah.
one that's all black?
The one with the green and the red. This is a new one.
Oh, goody.
This one says, after reading 13 May 2011,
Right.
we have several items here that are in green. I think the ones we should probably really look at, I mean, of course you gotta look at it all, but would be under line 1, which is the first line of paragraph 1 under policy, and that was a possible replacement of shall by should. So that's one of the alternates that was placed out. We also had the last sentence. Wait a minute. What was that last proposed to delete?
The part in brackets that starts with the existing.
Existence. That was proposed to, there was a, I believe it was Commissioner Cavan that said he wanted to delete that center of that policy, first paragraph policy. So we put that as a proposal. We have, under third portion of policy, we had a proposal to delete the last sentence, beginning with mule deer, and that's in brackets at the top of the second page. And I think there seemed to be some consensus to eliminate that, put production goals in every place, that's there. There was, I think this was Commissioner Cavan wanted to delete that, and he wanted to delete this second which would be, this paragraph would be the second paragraph of number 3, would beginning at all doe harvests, all right? That's an option.
gotta catch a plane, so you could be excused.
May be excused, thank you very much. For the record, Commissioner Macbeth has to catch an airplane. He may be excused at this point. Thank you. Appreciate your input. All right. Also, where are we at? We're down on 12. There was a proposal to delete the last part of, well, most of 12 after the first sentence. That was also Commissioner Cavan's. First, I'd like to hear public input on this item. Did I cover them about, Kim? Okay. Public input. Here we are. This is your time. And once, twice, close pub. Okay, we have 2. Flowers and then Mr. Corner. Mule deer policy. What you think of what we've got here?
Hi, Rex Flowers, Washoe County Cap. Again, we did not support this. We didn't feel there was any foundation for this. We didn't find any science to support it. We thought it was out of the realm of the commission. to take action on. Okay?
Thank you, Mr. Corner.
For the record, George Corner, representing Nevada Outfitters and Guides Association. And the Guides Association, not unanimously, Mr. Lynn has pointed out many times, we don't represent all the guides in the state, and we also, when we poll people, don't get full feedback from everybody, but by very few votes, majority of the guides that did get back to us want to support this policy. Want to support this policy.
Okay. Thank you. Guides wanted to support the policy. Come on up, Jim. Welcome.
Jim Janay, Lyon County Game Board. We went on record as opposing this right from the start, and even though it's been changed, we're still opposing it.
Okay. Anybody in the public comment? Thank you very much. Close public hearing on this matter. Bring it back to the commission.
Make a motion, Mr. Intimidation.
All right, I'd like to just discuss, the portions that are proposed here to delete, I mean, other than those that are stricken in red, those new ones, I kind of like them.
I got it.
But, go ahead, Mr. Vice Chairman.
I thought that deleting on, well, I guess page 2, the second one, all doe horses see those sufficient data to justify them as presented, we're going to delete all of that?
That was an option presented by one of the commissioners. I believe it was Commissioner Cavill.
And then also, the one above it where it says mule deer harvest should be reduced or limited in areas where population are below objective population goals. I think that's very important to leave that in. I don't see why you should delete that. I mean, that's a policy. If we have reduced populations in the area, well, then what are we going to do? I mean, this tells us what we're going to do.
Excellent.
And I don't think that should be deleted. I mean, that's a central part of the policy.
Very good. Yeah, I would not personally like to see any of those sections that are say proposed to delete. I would prefer that none of those were deleted.
Make a motion.
I'm not making no motion.
I will, if you're ready.
Are you motionless?
Go ahead. I'll see where it lands.
I make a motion to on policy P28 to I guess as presented here, after the edition I have is after reading 13th May 2011 edition, to accept the changes in green and delete the items in red, with the exception of number 3 on page 2, the last sentence, do not delete it, where it says mule deer harvest should be reduced or eliminated in areas / units where population are below objective population goals. Do not delete that. And in the next paragraph, it says delete the whole paragraph that starts with all doe harvest. Do not delete that. That would be my motion.
Okay, I'd like to clarify a couple things here just to make sure we didn't miss them or something in the motion before we even go to second, and that was in the first paragraph, that portion there that says proposed to delete, would that be remain or be deleted? That would remain or be deleted?
Deleted.
That would be deleted. Okay? And then under 12, this whole second portion of 12, where it says proposed to delete, would that be remain or be deleted?
No, that would remain.
That would remain. And And everything else as is here on, under green?
And as I said up here.
Yeah. Okay, so we would leave the proposed to delete portions, 2 portions of 3 and the one in
The
12.
last sentence in, well, not the last sentence, but I don't know how you identify it. It's,
The second paragraph of
well,
3.
it's the first paragraph of 3,
Oh, yeah.
where it says mule deer harvest should reduce or eliminate areas and units where population below objective population goals. Do not delete that.
Okay.
And then the next paragraph, do not delete.
Got it. And under 12, that, delete none of that.
Okay.
And leave it as it was.
Right.
With, which, so therefore, 12 would then continue to read, but the last portion, that last sentence in this motion, if it's seconded and adopted, would be years and/or is within 20% of production goals for the specific unit/area, correct?
Mhm.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
did we miss one in paragraph 1? There's a proposed to delete in the second to the last line.
That portion that says existence of positions within NDOW must be governed by what the positions do to sustain and enhance the population of animals that is their funding source. If necessary, in accordance with state law, job description may be changed. NDOW personnel be trained to meet new job requirements. Is that staying or going?
It's gone.
According to this motion. That's-
I was thinking at the top where it said should.
He was, the should at the top, he was leaving the should at the top.
And then, we're gonna leave that in, the existing position within.
And
NDOW.
leaving the second, because there was the 2 portions to delete.
Right, 2 portions, yeah. And
The top one, we'll leave that, we'll replace shall with should.
that's gonna be deleted, and changed, yeah,
Should would be the new language.
exactly.
Okay. Is everybody clear?
And do not delete the,
Are you, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. The paragraph 1 would be the shall in the first line after Department of Wildlife would be replaced with should. Under this motion. The rest of it would remain intact. Paragraph 3 would remain intact. Of course, that red portion would be stricken, and we'd have, and replaced with production goals, but the rest would remain intact. Other than that, the rest of 3 would remain intact, would not be deleted. The corrections made, stricken in red, would still be stricken through the rest of it. 12 would remain intact, and the last line would read, as I said, years and/or is within 20% of production goals for the specific unit/area. And we'd, of course, in 13, we'd have that change from shall to should.
what's confusing on this, on number 12, there's no brackets at the start of it where it says proposed, I see, yeah, I see, yeah.
It's just kind of,
Gotta,
so 12 would essentially
Figure it
remain
out.
intact.
You ready
All
for
right.
a second?
Go ahead.
I'll second that
Okay,
motion.
discussion. Commissioner Capurro.
I would like to propose amending the proposal by on section 1, on the policy, section 1, that to leave the word shall in there on the first line and delete the language existence of positions down to the commission's policy is focus efforts on active game production. So one would read, Department of Wildlife shall actively pursue enhancing game populations by setting and reaching game production goals. The commission's policy is to focus efforts on active game production. That would be 1. Number 3 would be to remove on the top page 2, mule deer harvest should be reduced or eliminated in areas
units where populations are below objective population goals, and the rest of the language in 3
Would be remain or delete?
would be deleted. Then I would propose to eliminate in 12, everything after the first sentence.
I didn't hear the last part.
Everything after the first sentence, delete in 12.
So basically, it would read, put everything
I'll
back.
second that.
So to basically put everything back, everything that's on here that says proposed to delete, they would all be deleted. And the only thing that would be different would be the shall would remain. Okay? So everything on here that says proposed to delete would indeed be deleted. And that's all that stuff under 1, most of item 3, the everything, basically everything, almost everything on top of the second page, and that major portion of 12. Okay. Everybody got that motion to amend, and it was seconded by Commissioner Cavan. We understand the amendment. All in favor of the amendment, signify by raising your hand. All opposed? Motion fails. 3 to 4 in favor were Capurro, Cavan, Wallace. Other 4 were opposed. Commissioner Macbeth is absent. Approve absence for the record. Back to the main motion. Everybody understand the main motion? All in favor of the main motion, signify by raising your hand. All opposed? Motion passes 4 to 3. Commissioners Capurro, Cavan, and Wallace opposed. Shrum, Howell, Vogler, Lent in favor. Okay, we have new commission policy number 28. We finally have mule deer management guidelines for the Nevada Department of Wildlife. Wonderful day. All right, let's move on to the next item, which is 36, Commission Policy Number 67, Horse Policy.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, go ahead, Commissioner Vogler.
I move we accept the horse policy as amended,
Second that.
or as revised with the shoulds from shall.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve policy number 67, federal horses and burros.
We're supposed to have any public input.
And we shall immediately have public comment because I was about to get slapped by the guy to my immediate left.
Sorry.
Come on up. Hello, Mr. Corner. How's Outfits and Guides?
Busy. George Corner, representing Nevada Outfitters and Guides Association, and we do support this policy. We did have heartburn with the shall, but that's been changed, so we can support it wholeheartedly now.
Thank you for your support. Anybody else, public comment? Seeing none, we'll close public hearing. Thank you.
Mr. Raine, could I make a motion at this time?
Yes, you may.
In proper order.
In proper order.
I make a motion that the State Nevada Board of Wildlife Commissioners accept as amended the Commission Policy Number 67, and its title is Federal Horses and Burros.
I'll second.
Second that.
Not
It
the
was-
horsey policy.
It was seconded by Commissioner Pearl, and then there was a couple others too, but we'll stick him. So he was first. Everybody understand the motion on the floor? All in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Commissioner Macbeth is absent. Let's move on to item number 37, Commission Meeting Budget. Take a second to pull up my stuff. On this, we had received a letter. Email from the department talking about the April commission meeting costs. I was disturbed by this letter because it implies stuff that to me does not appear to be correct, exist, or have any basis in fact, in addition to some of the things that are probably correct on it.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner Schrum.
could I interrupt you, please?
We
have a-
we got a handout and, first, go ahead.
We have a
Everybody got
problem.
one? Here, pass that one and this one down. And, I only need that one, so give one to Bo Vogler and pass the rest of them down to Suzanne so she can deal with them appropriately.
You want to pass these down?
There's one. You
I
should
need
get a-
one for Hank.
Commissioner Howell, here's some extra ones. I gave Hank one on his hat.
Yeah, this is a new one that was just handed out. We didn't have this
How
previously.
many revisions we gonna get?
This isn't a revision, this appears to be, Mr. Cates, if you could summarize what this handout is here? Yes. Would appreciate it. Huh?
Too rough to take hunting.
Too rough?
Based on our discussion Thursday, I guess it was, Commissioner Capurro requested to see the pending legislatively approved budget for the commission for the next biennium for fiscal year 12 and 13, and that's what I handed out for your information.
Excellent, thank you. Since that's not really our item here, I asked, Mr. Cates, what was the basis for, oh, I'm sorry, I had Commissioner Schrum had the floor, I didn't.
As I started to say earlier, Commissioner Raine, I have a problem with the expenses on the April meeting. I understand Mr. Wellington sent a letter to Mr. Cates requesting, well, I actually went to Mr. Mayor, said I am a member of the Elko County Advisory Board to manage wildlife, and I have a major issues with the Nevada Board of Wildlife Commissioners recently scheduled commission meeting on April 15th and 16th. As last year's chairperson for the Elko County Advisory Board, I did not budget the cost for travel regarding the above-mentioned commission meetings. I was under the impression that the governor's office stated there were no funds available for this April meeting. Chairman Raine moved forward with this meeting in total disregard for the governor's financial advisors. I'm requesting a copy of the total cost to the state of Nevada and Sportsman for printing, employees, and travel expenses which incurred by Chairman Raine. Blatant disregard to the governor's budget cuts. I would also ask you to forward these expenses to the governor's office for review. And then the answer is Mr. Wellington. This was dated April 28th. Said, Mr. Wellington, this is from Mr. Cates. I'm glad you're here, Mr. Cates, this afternoon to answer these questions. Pursuant to your request for information below, please find attached an itemized list of costs associated with the April meeting of the Nevada Board of Wildlife Commissioners. If you have any questions, please let me know. Well, I received the printout, and Mr. Cates, I frankly haven't a clue as to where you have my expenses at $659. Now, I know there's a discrepancy in the mileage because, sir, I don't get paid mileage. As Mr. Haskins can tell you, from the first, I've always commuted by private vehicle, either my own car or I've rented a car, and the rules say that the state is not going to compensate me for the cost I run up, but they're going to compensate me at the cheapest way possible, which is usually airfare, and I absorb the rest. I've accepted that. Suzanne has emails, I'm sure, of where I've said I'll accept whatever the state is legally obligated to pay me, and the result, just what's ever left over comes out of my pocket. Now, I'm set down here for $659, and a normal weekend meeting where I spend one night in a hotel, usually I come up the day before because I have friends up here in the area, or I'm up here on business or something, that night I pay for myself. And if I stay over on Saturday night, rather than try to drive back, I either stay with friends or I pay for my own room. So the one night, which is usually at the Silver Legacy, and per diem, and my pay, and other costs, comes out to $598. Kate Marshall sends me a check for $340 and I think 98 cents. And then it's another check, my pay is $160, that goes to my credit union. That comes up to $598 for a normal 2-day meeting. Now, of course, the April meeting, I'll try to make this short, folks. The April meeting was not a normal meeting. Now, it was supposed to be, they called it unscheduled, but I'm here to tell you, this is not an unscheduled meeting. I was given this last August. April 15th and 16th, Reno, legislative committee work. Got another one over here. Says the same thing. April 15th and 16th, Reno, is a scheduled meeting. Now someone, I don't know who, in NDOW obviously went to the governor, and I heard, can't prove it, I heard that they told him that it was an unscheduled meeting, and we got a thing back from Mr. Folletta saying that was an unscheduled meeting. No, and they said, well, it won't be funded. So now this is the meeting that we went ahead and interviewed people for the director. It's my belief that you can't, or you shouldn't, hire someone over the phone, especially a job as important as a director. So Commissioner Howell and I just went ahead and got to rent a car, drove up here, and instead of staying in Silver Legacy, we stayed in Motel 6. We bunked up together to keep expenses down. And I went down and had a copy of all my expenses that occurred. Total expenses for Commissioner Howell and I, when you add it all up together, it came out to about $194 a piece. That's bunking up together and gasoline and things like that. So I'm not responsible for Commissioner Howell's, expenses. That'll be his dog in the fight. But I think if I accept whatever money that the state or NDOW pays me, if it's over and above the expenses I can vouch for, then I'm guilty of misrepresentation or fraud. And now, Mr. Cates, I'm glad you're here. Can you explain to me how I managed to come up with this amount of money that I obviously didn't deserve or didn't earn? Because if it's a new schedule, I'm all for it. I can use that extra money.
Sure, I can speak to that. These numbers are estimates because I was not aware that you and Mr. Howell were going to travel. We had a very brief conversation during the meeting about it.
It was a last-minute thing.
So I had to do my best estimate at what this was going to cost, and everything was based on GSA rates, per diem rates. There were 2 nights of lodging because I assumed you traveled up the night before and would be eligible to claim 2 nights of lodging. And you have to understand the way the state per diem reimbursement works. It's not necessarily exactly what you incurred in cost, it's what you're entitled to. The meal rates, that sort of thing, are standard, and you're reimbursed for those rates. There's standard maximum rates for lodging that you're entitled to be reimbursed for. You can claim less if you want to, but I had no receipts, had no idea what your lodging costs were, so I pegged it at the allowable GSA rate for lodging. The mileage was an estimate, and you are absolutely correct, because you're coming from Las Vegas. We pay you the equivalent cost of an airline flight. If you factor out all of the lodging and per diem out of this, it's about $250 for the mileage. That's about what a flight costs. So it's pretty equivalent. I think perhaps I have and when people travel and they're traveling by car, they often incur about a half days of per diem on one side and half days of per diem on the other side. Those are legitimate costs to claim, and because I didn't know what your actual costs were, whether or not claims were going to be made, I always, when we project for the cabs or the commission travel expenses, we project what the maximum allowable reimbursement rates are, and that's the basis for it. The actuals may be a little different from that, but
all right,
certainly in the ballpark. You've got $15,000 worth of expense here, so a few hundred isn't.
All right.
a big variation.
Let me say something, and then we'll have chance for everybody else here. You know, this best estimates, this was after the fact. This was well after the commission meeting when this came out.
But I didn't have any receipts
Okay.
or requests for reimbursements.
Right.
They were estimates.
This is after I stood here in this meeting.
And I just had you sign the March claim just yesterday.
Yes.
That was well after the fact.
I understand that.
We didn't have an actual expense.
And I stood right here in the meeting, and I said to you, in the words, and we had a discussion about this, and I said, I do not expect to be reimbursed for anything. And then you expressed to me, and if I'm wrong, please straighten me out on that portion. And you expressed to me that there might be a little bit of money left over, and if there was, then maybe that could be dispersed. And I said, that's fine, as long as it is dispersed equally and equitably amongst all the commissioners, and I think I even mentioned based upon a percentage of their expenses they're due. As long as equal and equitable amongst everyone that's here, and I said, I'm not even turning in my hotel receipts, don't have those, not turning them in, so if it is, I'm not even asking for that portion. I remember saying that, and maybe that got lost because there was a lot of things going on. But, it should have been, to me, this portion here, NDOW was informed they would be reimbursed if sufficient funds are available. That portion, but we'd already said, it should have been to me said, this is going to the governor's office basically for the purpose of Mr. Wellington is to tell him what a bunch of cruds we are. And it should have been stated to me in here that, hey, they said they would take nothing. And they'd be happy to take nothing unless something happens to be available. And I can't speak for everyone, but that's what I said, right?
That is what you said, but nevertheless, you have a legal right to make claims. I didn't know what after the fact you might decide to claim or not. And I told all three of you that I would reimburse at the end of the year if we had sufficient funds, and I stand by that. If you incurred legitimate costs for commission business and we have budget for it, we should pay it.
Now I want to throw up part here is about authority, and maybe Dags or somebody could throw up on this, but it says here that Wallace was pre-approved to travel approved by NDOW to travel. Where's the authority to pre-approve that and not other people on the commission? This was the reason why we had it telephonic. When it showed up, I knew I was obviously not going to get reimbursed. That was one of those decisions. Do I want to sit on a phone all day or incur expenses on my own behalf, and I'll just go ahead and expend them, and I won't have to call on the phone, and that's fine. I'll take my lumps. That's great. So none of this should have really been necessary to be expended. The cabs should have been paid only travel to their one of those three locations. I don't know if these were to those locations or those were to here. And if on telephonic, the most I could.
Cabs are different. The cabs that's between the counties and the cabs, and we give them a lump sum, and that's a totally different issue.
But that meeting, it had three physical locations that they could have all shown up to. And they wouldn't have been authorized to travel all across the strait. If I was authorized for anything, it would have been to go to my nearest location. Although I did have the option for telephone, so that would have, to me, for the commission, that would have precluded even that.
Nevertheless, if you travel on state business, you chose to come here, you're entitled to reimbursement, and I estimated what that entitlement was.
Even after I said there was none. But, it should have stated in here.
But you need to understand, this is the governor's executive budget, it's the department's budget. I have authority over what is paid out of that budget. We take your recommendations, but you don't have authority to say who's going to get paid and who's not going to get paid. That's the authority of the department over this budget. Commissioner Wallace contacted us, said he had concerns about doing this meeting telephonically, didn't think that was appropriate, and asked if he could travel, and said that he was willing to accept less reimbursement if that's all that was available. At that point in time, some of the costs that I had estimated were a little bit lower. It looked like we would have no problem paying for that, so I went ahead and authorized that. If the other commissioners had done the same thing, I may have been able to do the same thing. At that point, I'm not sure how much money was available.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay. We have more comments. Commissioner Schrum, Commissioner Howell, and we'll move around the table this way.
My only concern was more than anything else that Mr. Wellington might take this paper as being gospel when it's not even close. I know you probably did the best with what you had to work with, but my concern was that it didn't match all my numbers, and all my numbers here go to my accountant and who does my taxes, and I don't want somebody to come back and say, hey, that Commissioner Shrum there on the commission is making all kinds of money. And it just, now, I'm not above taking the money, I can always use the money, but it's just, it's not exactly what expenses I incurred.
I understand it, and like I said, this is what the allowable rates that you would be entitled to. And I can tell you, I did receive a call from the governor's office about this document, and I explained it to them. I explained to them that the travel costs were estimates, that no claims had been made, that some commissioners said they didn't intend to claim, but I told everybody we would reimburse to the extent we could. That was verbally explained to the governor's office when they asked about this document.
Is a check in the mail?
Well,
Is a check
we
in
have
the
to
mail?
do a claim first.
Okay.
And I still don't know if we're going to have sufficient authority. And if you do have lodging receipts or anything like that, I'd be glad to take it. And as soon as we clear out the cost from this meeting, if there's sufficient funding left over, I have no problem reimbursing it. It's legitimate commission business. You traveled, you're entitled to be reimbursed, whether or not we're coordinated with or not.
Okay, we had Commissioner Howell. We're going around the
Just a
table.
It must be a misprint here that there's no mileage down to.
Well, when I spoke to you both, you indicated you rode together, so there'll only be mileage for
So you
one.
just pay him then.
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't get paid for rides.
Commissioner Vogler.
Mr. Cates,
He just got a free ride.
Yes, sir.
is this an action item to begin with?
It is listed as an action item.
Okay. I attended by phone from my house. The cost was zero because I have a flat rate on my phone no matter where I call in the United States and several foreign countries. During the meeting on the 15th, I got ill, and my entitled to workman's compensation, I spent the next 4 days in the hospital at $21,000. I'd sure send you the bill if you'd like to pick her up.
You're covered.
We do pay workers' comp on commissioners, but illness, generally not a covered benefit under that. But you're certainly welcome to check with state risk management on
The
that.
stress level of that meeting didn't tip me over.
I think we all might need workers' comp if that's the measure.
It wasn't a motion. Cool. Mr. Vice Chairman.
I have a question. When this budget was printed, was this presented to IFC?
That document? No. No, that was requested by Mr. Wellington. I don't remember the time frame, but no, that didn't go to IFC.
Well, that president, well, I guess we can't discuss that, IFC is not on the agenda, but that was a representation of what we did.
All right, since it's coming around the table and back, now the second page here, NDOW staffing costs. It's interesting. This is something that the commission has no control over, and in my mind, and if I'm wrong on that, please let me know. But we don't have any control over, and if the commission had some control over it, probably a lot of these costs wouldn't be incurred. This is strictly at. What I think is correct, all these costs could be halved or doubled strictly by administration. You guys could come up and say, I want these people here, or I don't want these people here. The subject matter experts could be in this room or not, depending on, that's up to you guys to determine that. It's up to you guys, it's up to the director's office, I should say, to say how many hours Mr. Gilbertson is here in the room, if he's necessary or not, or Richards or Bonamici or Ross, any of these people. It's up to you guys to determine that. We didn't ask for all the, this is up to you guys to determine these levels. Your turn.
Well, it's fully driven by your agenda, sir. It's dependent on what items you put on there, what staff we need to be able to address those items for you, the need to record those minutes, the preparing the minutes takes an inordinate amount of time because of the length of the meetings, because of the number of agenda items that you put on there. That meeting was originally scheduled to only deal with legislation. You added legislation, you added interviews with directors, and a whole host of policy issues. So we needed to have staff here to be able to provide adequate resources to the commission to assist you in your duties.
But that is not up to us. That's an interpretation by you guys. That's not a determination that we necessarily make. Those numbers. Anyways, we're going around. Anybody have any comments? Go ahead, chime on in.
To say, I might as well. You know,
So we're going around.
as Patrick said, this was scheduled as a legislative meeting. I'd have been happy to sit on the phone and listen to a bunch of, quite frankly, BS for 4 hours. But to come to a meeting for 2 days when you schedule interviews, number one, that you should be here face to face with the person you're interviewing. We should have never even scheduled it as a telephonic meeting. Should have
didn't
never even been that way.
We didn't have a choice, unfortunately.
Well, we should have
That's
made
not true.
it work out somehow or another, because that's completely, in my opinion, irresponsible to talk to someone on the phone and make a judgment on them based on not being able to see them, not being able to hear the rest of the commissioner's questions, because people in the other locations had trouble hearing. And, you know, I would have been happy to stay home for a little bit of time on the phone, but to spend 2 days on the phone, it wasn't going to happen. And that's why immediately when I called in, I said, you know, this isn't right. I feel like I need to be there for this meeting. And I asked him if it was all right, since it was listed as a telephonic meeting, if I attended. And I was told yes, so that's why I came. So if there's any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them. But otherwise, I don't know why we've just spent 20 minutes on this item
Go
for
ahead.
nothing.
Okay, first of all, if I remember correctly, we were directed by the governor's office.
Microphone.
We were directed by the governor's office to either hold a telephonic meeting or not to meet at all. So it was that. I don't have any problem with you estimating. This is what you would normally have to have for a regularly scheduled meeting in Reno. So these costs should have been normally incurred for a meeting that was agendized, which it was going back to last year. I don't have any problem with how you do this, because I understand, that's how I figure you have to budget, is that you have to anticipate that everybody is going to attend, and that these are the averages that you have to pay. But all of us have at one time or another tried to cut down on the costs. I explained yesterday what I do. I've never charged much for the Las Vegas meetings, and of course don't get anything for this meeting. I have no problem with having pre-approved, because quite frankly, I believe everybody should have been allowed to participate without having to ask for a pre-approval. But you're right, it's difficult to have a session of interviews on a phone. That does not work, and that's why Commissioner Schrum and Commissioner Howell came up here, and why you felt you should be up here too, which I totally agree with. And that, so I have no problem with you being pre-approved. I think the rest of them that traveling should have been pre-approved also. I still don't understand why, if we are budgeted like you have here, now, why we should end up where we know we have 7 meetings a year, running out of money, so that, number one, we were told by the governor's office to have a telephonic meeting, and number two, not have a June meeting. And so we had to cram everything into this meeting here. I mean, that just bothers the heck out of me in that. But, I mean, I understand why you set it up this way. I guess I'd just say that I hope that this covers us for 7 full meetings next year, plus the WAFWA 2 meetings in the summer, and the 2 people in the summer and 1 in the winter.
All right.
And that's all I care about. As I said, I have assumed a lot of my own expenses, just as some of you on here have.
Okay, Mr. Vice Chairman.
I've got a question here. We should have some say in the staffing, or, to show some justification what each is for. For example, do we pay for the audio visual of this recording?
Does who pay for it?
The commission. Is it cost allocated to the commission?
No. We do not allocate staff time directly to the commission in our time coding system. We incur those costs in our operating budgets. And these were estimates based on interviewing staff.
These don't come out of the commission?
Out of the commission's category, no.
Okay.
There are other costs to the department, which was part of Mr. Wellington's request.
I'll throw out just one last thing. You know, if this under commission costs, it would have said underneath here something about that, you know, it had been expressed by Raine, Howell, and Shrum, and possibly Wallace that, hey, we had expressed to you that we knew we weren't going to get, probably not going to get paid for it, and somehow it expressed that in this, we wouldn't even be having this conversation, because that's what appeared to me to be that was not represented here. And I just really wish it would have been represented here, that we had said that.
Yeah, I think.
That's my point of contention, okay?
Well,
Is that fair?
It was represented verbally to the governor's
Okay.
office, as I stated.
I just really would have liked that to been represented here, in writing, in the documentation, because this goes out to pile of people, and they're like, look at these greedy suckers, they only were supposed to spend so many dollars, and they wanted a whole bunch. When we showed up and said, hey, we know it's probably on our own dime, that's okay. Thank you for representing to his office. Give us a fair shake. All right? And I'll try to be the same. I would have considered that a fair shake. This agenda item is an action item. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, close public hearing on the matter. Bring it back to the commission. The action here would be as any instruction to chairman and/or secretary in dealing with partial compensation for meetings, or make other recommendations regarding current, past, or future wildlife commission meeting finances, budgets, and/or commissioner expense reimbursement. We've already talked about the future. That's been distributed in a document by the deputy director, and I don't know.
I move that we accept what they give us.
I'll second that.
Mr. Chairman.
I like that.
Okay, it's probably moving second to accept what they give us.
I would like to again thank Mr. Cates for providing this. This is the first time I've ever seen it. Of course, I wasn't on before. So for the 2 years that's coming up, I do appreciate you providing this to us, because I think it gives us a little better idea of what our budget actually is.
And I would like that, you know, you send out something like this that could be taken as slamming the commission, run it by the chairman beforehand, say, hey, you know, I'm putting this out. I would, as a courtesy. I mean, you don't have to. I know it's not the thing, but then I'd say, hey, can you say what we said on there, please? Thank you. Would all be cool. Wouldn't be on the agenda. We'd move on. My olive branch.
That was my comment, was a little better communication, and we wouldn't be spending
All right,
half an hour.
you know, just before this showed up, I would have appreciated just a little FYI. We could have had it. It would have been, this wouldn't even been an issue. Okay, we had a motion second. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Everybody here, and I voted 4 times for the record. That's a joke for the record. And, all right, we are on item number 37, 38, future commission meeting. We've got another one. We've got an instruction. Anybody have anything on that?
We have no future.
That's not in the form of a motion.
Let's schedule one in June. I think we ought to.
Mr. Chairman,
No.
Go ahead, Commissioner Capurro.
I know this is going to be about as popular as a prostitute in church, but
We couldn't hear him, and that's for the record. We couldn't
would
hear
like
him.
to
That
ask-
was a mumbling for the record.
I would like to ask you to seriously consider going back to P28 that we approved. And the reason is, I was under the impression that Dag Stockton had indicated to us that second sentence in the first paragraph of the policy was problematic insofar as the state was concerned. If that's the case, we should remove that.
Wow.
It's policy, not law.
I don't care. It's
Okay, hold on. Let's let Doug Stockton get a look at that.
I remember it. And,
Okay.
You know, my point was not that it's illegal. It's not. It's just that it's. How am I going to say this? You know, the way it's worded. I mean, it's not illegal, but it can't be done.
Well,
See what I mean?
and that's why it shouldn't be part of our policy. if it can't be
Right,
done.
but shouldn't is not my. It's not illegal, but it's impossible. So, as a practical matter, you're right, it should not be part of that, but as a legal matter, I mean, it's what we call a legal nullity.
All right, we're looking for the next motion. That's one that's beyond the end of the agenda. Before we adjourn this meeting, I'd like to say that, this is possibly the last meeting for up to 4 members of the commission. I'd like to thank you gentlemen, not you gentlemen I'm looking at, 'cause you're not the ones, for dedication and tremendous expenditures, time and energy, and for whatever political differences there may be, I do know that every member of this commission, including gentlemen, I hold you all in the highest regard. And, we should hopefully let the political differences move on, because I think, I truly know that you guys are all here for the betterment of wildlife, and I think that so does everybody else. So, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
And let the record show, Chairman Raine, that the last major vote by this group, Mr. Raine and Mr. Macbeth finally agreed and voted the same way. I want the record to show that.
We have a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
All in favor?
Yo.
Stand adjourned.
Who did that?